Ahoy lads, Sam here, with another episode on how to PvP in Dark Souls 3. This one's going to be really important. I am going to try to analyze different weapons and their backstab times, as well as talk about why you might be missing your backstabs. And little hint, it's not always latency. I have a theory as to how backstabs work in this game. I can't be certain this is exactly how it is, but I'm fairly sure this is how they work. I believe there's two animations. Number one is your initial animation, that whiff animation that you get where you're going for a backstab. And I believe there's two checks for that in the game. Are you close enough? And are you at their back? If it's yes to both, it'll play the animation. I believe the second animation, the backstab confirm, the grab, the suck box, whatever you want to call it, favors backstabbers. And it has two things it also checks for. Are you close enough to the other player? Is the other player in iframes, meaning like mid-roll? If yes to the first, and no to the second, then you'll backstab them. You don't even have to be at their back. It's just an are you close enough? Let's roll back a little bit in this clip and analyze it in depth. I start at this player's back. He's pivoting and turning around to swing at me, but he's stuck in place. And I started at his back, so I'm going to get that first animation. You're going to see he actually hits me and interrupts that animation, but it doesn't matter. This kind of confirms to me that there are two different animations. The first one doesn't matter if you get interrupted, and the second one can't be interrupted at all. There is a slight delay too between your weapon going into their back and them receiving the damage. It's that same delay that you would have on a normal hit with someone. So if you manage to backstab somebody who's really latent from you, they might not take the damage for a third of a second or longer depending on how bad the latency is. Alright, with a little help from my friend Scuttle here, we're going to analyze exactly how long it takes for the backstab confirm. I'm analyzing these based on when I first start to see my weapon move with the backstab animation to when I see the other player freeze and being held in the grab animation. Keep in mind, these could be off by 1 or 2 frames, perhaps due to latency. I'm also counting them in Vegas just the best I can. Now, I was surprised by some of these when I got in here to analyze, because I assumed the dagger and thrusting sword / rapier would be faster than everything else, and that axes and hammers were going to be a lot slower, with the slowest being like curved great swords and ultra great swords or great axes. These weapons that have a slower grab time are easier to escape, and the best way to escape is to move straight away from your opponent. Turning towards them, God forbid if you parry, you're going to get backstabbed because that second check only checks if you're close enough, not if your back is to them. I thought there was going to be a bigger difference between when these weapons would grab you, but the max difference between the fastest at 20 frames and the slowest at 26 frames, that can make a pretty significant difference. For comparison, a curved sword is 6 frames faster than a straight sword. Now think about the times where a curved sword should stun the straight sword person faster if they swing at the same time, but you actually don't because of latency. Now there is one special class of weapon when it comes to backstabs, and that's thrusting swords. Now they have that first grab animation, but they actually have a second grab. So the rapier, S-stock, Croquills, Rickard's rapier have this second grab. You can pull off some crazy looking backstabs with thrusting swords because of this. I'm just going to show you a few more examples of getting backstabs even though the person's back kind of turns away from me. And it all comes back to that theory that I proposed, where it doesn't matter how they're facing, it matters how close they are to you if you've got that initial animation. The age-old tip when going for a backstab with something like a greatsword is to guard as you're running for their back. And the reason for that is when you turn around, you don't do that animation where you skid on the ground, the "oh no, I left something" or "I forgot why I'm in this room" thing. And when you're in that animation, you can't do a backstab quickly, and even worse, you'll take counter damage. All right, now that we understand the differences between different weapons and how backstabs actually work, I want to show you some reasons why you might miss a backstab. When you run up behind somebody for a backstab, you want to be right behind them, not 3 feet behind them, right behind them. If you're a little bit to the left or to the right, the game's more forgiving, but it is not very forgiving if you're not right behind that player. I run in for a textbook pivot backstab in between his swings, right behind him, but I don't get the backstab. And I run up behind him again. Now this time I'm a little bit late because he rolls away. And I start failing my spacing a bit there. I try to run behind him. I mispredict that he's only going to swing once, so I get punished for that. And then I fail to actually get behind him there and slip behind him. I don't turn around correctly, so I get whacked. There, my positioning's off a little bit, so I get the whiff animation, but he's too far away, so I'm not going to get the backstab. Hey, whoa, whoa, everything we learned. I should have backstabbed that guy. I had the animation, he was facing me, he was close enough, so what went wrong? There was probably nothing wrong with the first backstab attempt I showed on him either, but you're gonna see there's really bad latency between us. If this is happening, just don't try to backstab them. Might get lucky and get it sometimes, but it's just not worth the risk. Hopefully this information is useful to some of you. I know I was surprised by some of the backstab grab times when I was testing this myself with Scuttle. I will continue this series. The suggestion for me is to talk about how to use crate shields, and I don't think there's a whole lot of good guides on that. Might take me a bit to fully understand that. You know, I'm supposed to ask you the like thing, the comment thing, subscribe thing, but really I want to have suggestions on what to do in this series, and I want to help people improve themselves at Dark Souls 3 PvP. If you do those things for me, it helps my videos reach more people, and ultimately will help more people get better at the PvP in this game. I've got this format. I'm under 10 minutes per video. Have a good one, guys.